Hello trainers, Neto here. It's been a while, I know, but we're not gonna do GPL today. Let's focus a bit on the Obsidian Cup, which is the theme cup of Silph Arena for March, and we're gonna have a very interesting and exciting meta. As always here, I'm just gonna explain my team builder, a very efficient way using this graph which shows nothing by the way right now, and you're gonna have a very nice way to build up your teams, and all of those teams are gonna be competitive. We're gonna be covering all the weaknesses for the top meta Pokemon and stuff like that. Before we start though, be sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, you know how much it helps, and now let's dive into the first details of the Obsidian Cup. For the first time in Silph Arena history, I guess, we have types banned and no types allowed to start off, since we have the bans on the fighting types, the flyers, the fairies, the grass and the ground types. Also, we're gonna have some other bans like the shadows and the megas, and I have a feeling that megas will be allowed on PvP on May on GBL, so stay tuned for that. And we have more bans on the faces of Basidon, Registeel, Lickitung, Pachirisu and Vigoroth. Those Pokemon, I guess, that are super safe for the current meta. People are just gonna abuse them if they were allowed, and we would not have a fun meta overall. So now let's dive into the first category that I have made for you trainers, and let's discuss the top picks. Starting off, we have the tank section. I had a lot of positive feedback when I uploaded on my social this Obsidian Cup team builder graph, so I will just say right straight away that I agree with you that Regirock is not a tank, okay? I get it, but I did not know how else I could fit it in the meta. It feels strong. It just isn't that tanky, it is not that spammy, it has access to nuke moves, but it can take the hits because it has a fairly high defense. So we have Deoxys, Cofagrigus, Regirock, as we said, Cresselia and Umbreon in the current category. You can pick any of those Pokemon, they all serve the same bulky role, but they have some differences in between. You can see that Umbreon is the most spammier of them all, so if you need a spammy tank, here is your Umbreon that can fill that spot. Cresselia is a very nice anti-water option since it has access to Grass Knot and also can hit hard either with Future Sight or with Moonblast. I really recommend Moonblast because even if you get the debuff, this is gonna be awesome for you, and it has a nice option against the dark types, which you can see from Umbreon that are gonna be meta as well. You also have Obstagoon that can really threat any of these Pokemon, but not the Moonblast Cresselia, so keep that in mind. Regirock, as we said, is a lock-on beast since it doesn't deal any damage with its fast attack, but you can nuke down whatever you want, so perhaps as a closer or as a switch-in may be a very nice bulky option for you. Cofagrigus is a strong pick for this meta since it has access to Shadow Ball, Dark Pulse. Do not pick Psychic, perhaps you pick Psychic, I don't know, it's up to you in the end, but with Shadow Claw you can pressure down any opponent, and of course Deoxys defense form, you know how good that thing is another psychic option for the tank section, but with access to Psycho Boost, which can just go back to back, then bring your other Pokemon, clear the debuff, and then bring it back again to do some more Psycho Boosts if you want, and also has access to Rock Slide and Thunderbolt. I feel like that Thunderbolt may be a better option for this meta, but you can always go with Rock Slide as well. So that's all for the tank section, and now let's focus into the next one. For the second slot, we have the Spammers trainers, and now we are gonna go into the picks. Walrein, Polito, Dusclops and Double Spider are gonna be our choices, so we can see that Walrein is the prince of the meta currently on Great League and perhaps on Ultra League. This thing is a beast. You must have it on your team when you're playing GPL, or just go with counters against it. However, in Obsidian Cup you can play without it, but you have to build your team accordingly. So if you decide to pick your Walrein for your team, perhaps you are gonna be in a very good position with Waterfall. You heard me right, Waterfall might be what you need for Walrein to succeed. it does more work against Regirock, which is gonna be a high top rank for every team out there. You are gonna encounter it in a lot of teams, so Waterfall perhaps it is gonna work much better for you. But you can always go with the standard moveset, Powder Snow, Acid Spear and Earthquake. Since it can cover a lot of its weaknesses as well. Politoed is gonna be the second water of the group, but this one is gonna be a pure water type. The only difference that it has from that Wolverine is gonna be that it spams with water attacks and also doesn't take super effective damage from fighting moves, because fighters might not be allowed in the meta, but you can see that pseudo fighters will be allowed in a while. Dusclops is gonna be the thick ghost of the group, which has access to Hex and Shadow Punch and also an Elemental Punch if you like. Fire Punch, Ice Punch are also gonna be there for you, so just test them out. This Pokemon is super spammy, especially with its bulk, and requires a minimal amount of Excel candies. Even if you do not have Excel candies like me, because I skipped that community day, I have 100% to use for the current meta, and every time I have my Dusclops into play, so it does fairly the same work. So you can use 100% Dusclops. There is no limit on your imagination, trainers. You do not always need the best Excel Pokemon to succeed. And then we have the double spider. One is gonna be part poison and the other one is gonna be part electric, but they are both gonna be bugs. So they also have the same moveset, kinda, Lance and Cross Poison, but you're not gonna need Cross Poison on your Galvantula and perhaps not Lance on your Ariados. A lot of thick Pokemon, as you can see from the previous category, exist, so perhaps a Megahorn for your Ariados might serve you better. Also, Lance will do a fairly good amount of work for your team, since you can debuff the opponent, go for another one much easier, but Megahorn will be a much better closing move for you, and you can catch your opponent unsuspected, so you can just go for the lead scenario up in 2 seals, and your opponent will not expect it. Start Megahorn, down goes a Deoxys, and you're gonna be, wow, I did that? Yes, you did that, trainer. And also you have access to that Cross Poison, which can buff you up, or just use it for bait, or just spam it all the way against some certain threats. Galvantula will be there with Discharge, Lance. You do not need Cross Poison for this one. I think that the standard moveset will just work just fine. And this is another spammy spider, because 3 Volt Switches will mean a move for you. Take care though, because Volt Switch is one of the moves that your opponent can count pretty easily, so you might get outplayed fairly easily. So for this cup, because a lot of skilled players exist, I think that Ariados might be a better choice for you. For the third slot, we have the Generalists. Those Pokemon are consisted mainly of Steels and Dragons, but also Obstagoon, because they all counter down the meta pretty well. They are not safe switches though, because they have their own weaknesses for sure, so you're gonna get countered if you're using them as a safe switch, but you can use them either as a lead or as a closer or even as bench pressure. I think that all those Pokemon that fill in the category are just gonna go pretty amazing against the meta, so you can see that tanks and spammers really build up a healthy core for any team out there, so Generalists might be something like a core breaker for you. You have the Obstagoon that can go super amazingly against the tanks, and against the spammers it can just go pretty solid. You're gonna take a lot of damage however, so you're gonna have some soft wins, and perhaps against the spiders you're gonna have some soft losses, so that's why it is a Generalist. All those picks are gonna have soft matches against the meta, soft wins or losses, but that means that your other team, the rest of your team, can take advantage of that, farm that energy that remains on the opponent, and then bring hell on the enemy. Next up we have the Dragons. Goodra, Dragonair are just gonna be the same Pokemon, with one difference. One has access to Power Whip, the other one has access to Aqua Aqua Tail, so perhaps, I don't know, Goodra feels better because it also has access to Muddy Water, another water type move, which doesn't do much, but it can also debuff the opponent. Dradigon is just gonna pressure, which is high attack stat, and I really recommend Dradigon because I use it on my Love Cup. I had a lot of fun out there with Dragon Tail, Night Slash, and Dragon Claw, and because of the Charmers on the Love Cup, here they do not exist at all. I was using Hyper Beam, so perhaps you need Hyper Beam if you are considering playing Dradigon as your closer. Zwilus, Zwilus, I don't know the correct pronunciation of that thing. I don't know, I say a lot of things badly, so Zwilus will be there as another Dragon Breather, but this one is gonna be part Dark, which means that it takes super effective damage from the fighting moves, but also can resist some psychic moves, so that's something that you should take a note of. And I really like this Pokemon since it can pressure down the opponent. Dark Pulse does a lot, it is also stab, unlike the other Dragon types which have no stab on that dark move that they might have, like the Night Slash. And Zwilus really does the work of Body Slam super good, gonna pressure down the opponent very much effectively. Now we have two steel types that are just gonna go crazy on the opponent. One is gonna be the Melmetal, which can debuff itself and then bail out of the fight and bring it back to do some more superpower damage, or just go with the Rock Slides, or even consider using that Flash Cannon. Flash Cannon is gonna do a lot of stab damage to the opponent. You're gonna need a lot of energy to build up to that, but hopefully it has access to Thunder Shock, and perhaps you're not gonna need Rock Slide for most of the times out there. Perhaps Flash Cannon might be your way to go. And of course we have the Magnezone, which is gonna be the last one that we're gonna talk about for the generalist section. This Pokemon is amazing, I really love it, and especially when grounds and fighters are not around. Perhaps this one is just gonna go crazy against anything. Double Wild Charge, you can even finish off other electric types, and sometimes the Swamberts, which are not allowed in the current meta, but yeah, in the Open Great League, 2 Wild Charges are gonna be it for that Swampert, so you know how much damage it does. But it is super glassy, you have to take note of that, so be careful out there when using a Magnezone. You do not need shields apparently to use that Pokemon, but it serves better as a closer. Just go for some easy farm down to the semi last Pokemon your opponent has, and just go with double Wild Charge or even triple Wild Charge. You also have access to Flash Cannon, Mirror Shot, but mostly you're gonna go Wild Charge to your opponent, so you're gonna have some easy wins and close your matches much easier. So that's all for the generalists, and now let's dive into the safe switches. Wormadam, Frostlass, Zangoose, Sableye and Dragalge will all be in this safe switch section. Okay, let's start off with Wormadam. If so far you haven't picked a steel type, because from the generalist you had Magnezone and Melmetal, perhaps now is the time for you to pick a steel option. I really love Wormadam, I have built mine I think 2 years ago, so that's not Excel for sure, and you can also go without Excel Pokemon for this cup to succeed. You do not need an Excel Wormadam no matter what, just go with a regular one and you're gonna be just fine. This Pokemon is amazing, I really love it. It has a huge damage pressure to the opponent with the confusion, with the Bug Patch, and I think the debuff is more than 20%, so that's another cool thing for Wormadam. And also Iron Head, which can go pretty well against those ice types or even the Regirock. Next up we have the Dragalge, which is kinda spammy with its Dragon Tail, Aqua Tail, but I did not include it in the spammer section because it takes a while to become spammy. And also Outrage for the finishing moves if you are thinking about using it as a closer. Sableye, you know how good that Pokemon is, just a purified one, use Return, use your Foul Place, nothing else. I'm not gonna cover Sableye that much. And now let's focus into Frostlass. I love Frostlass. Every single cup that has come up during the past months, I have used Frostlass because I'm in love with that Pokemon. It's amazing. You can use Avalanche, Powder Snow all the way, and then you can surprise your opponents because this Pokemon is gonna be kinda common with, guess what, trainers? A Crunch. Not gonna use Shadow Ball. I always go straight Crunch when I use my Frostless against the Frostless because the opponent is like always, okay, that's not super effective, right? That is gonna be just an Avalanche. That is no way gonna be a Shadow Ball, and boom, super effective. Are you kidding me? It is not gonna finish off the opponent, but if you debuff them with proper shielding, you can just farm down from that point till the end. So the next Pokemon that comes in, yeah, it cannot go well against something like a Frostless. I think that the only weakness that this Pokemon has in the current meta is gonna be the Umbreon. Everything else is absolutely playable, so definitely a safe switch for you out there, trainers. Zangoose is another safe switch option which is super glassy, but your opponent has to shield its moves, and you are most probably gonna reach to double moves no matter what. And if you can get the boost with Night Slash, perhaps if you use it as a shield option, as a shield machine, if you are gonna absorb the hits with your shields, you are gonna be in a very good position because Shadow Claw is gonna do a lot, and also close combats and another Night Slash will just finish off whatever else exists in the current meta. So that's all for the safe switches. I hope you pick one of those Pokemon. I really recommend using Frostlass, but you can also use that Wormadam as well. If you want a glassy option, perhaps Zangoose is gonna be there if you like some really nice risky plays, and if you want to play it safe, just go with Sableye. If you are missing a dragon so far, if you haven't picked a dragon from the generalist section, perhaps Dragalge may fit that role pretty much good. So far, so good, trainers, and as you can see, you already have a tank on your team, you have a spammy leader option, and both of those picks go pretty well against anything as a core. You have a generalist, also a core breaker for your team composition. You have already added a safe switch for your team, and now let's see what you're missing. Are you missing a steel type? Perhaps a Pokemon from this coverage section might help you. Something like an Excadrill or a Fortress might be your option. Also, if you're missing a bug type, not only those two can help you, but also a Beedrill might be something that you are looking for. If you haven't picked something like a Golden or a Politoed from the previous sections, or if you haven't added something like a Dragonair for that water coverage, perhaps Lantern or even Sumarot might be some other cool picks for you. And of course, you have the Alola Marowak, so if you haven't picked something like a Dusclops or even a Frostlass, this Marowak can fill in as a ghost type, and you're gonna need ghost types because they can go pretty well against those psychics, and they can go pretty well against those bug types that are gonna be there, as you can see with Wormadam, Cavaliers, or even the Double Spider as we saw in the spammer section. So this category is all about filling in your holes, let's say, of your teams. You have the Samurott that does a lot of work with Megahorn Hydro Cannon and really charges up super fast with Fury Cutter. Lantern, I really love that Pokemon. It is bulky, it is not on the tank section because it is not not tanky. It is tanky, but it is not that cool on reaching its moves that easy, let's say it like this. But if you can use it as a closer, for example, you're just gonna go pretty well with Lantern. Fortress can be used as a debuffer for you because it has access to Mirror Shot and Sand Tomb and Rock Tomb, I guess, or you can go with Earthquake to finish off some unsuspected opponents. Beedrill is just gonna be there for you to pick it. You know how good that Pokemon is. You have used it in the past for sure if you are a casual Silph arena player. Drillrun just gonna do a lot against the opponent. Also, you have Fell Stinger or Excisor as your bug charge attacks, and just keep in mind that you're gonna need Poison Jab and not Infestation for your Beedrill. Escavalier is gonna be a pseudo fighter, so if you're missing some fighting moves, if you haven't picked Obstagoon for example, perhaps Escavalier can fill in with that role. And I really like that Pokemon because fire is not gonna be allowed that much in the current meta. meta, so it is gonna have almost no weaknesses at all. And speaking of fire, perhaps your opponent has a Marowak, so why don't you have a Marowak as well? This thing with fire spin is absolutely crazy. Do not go Hex. If you want a Hex version of Marowak, just go with Dusclops. Really does the work better with Hex. It is much spammer and it has the stab Shadow Punch, because Bone Club is not gonna help you a lot. It is just gonna be mostly for those baits. So use Marowak with Fire Spin, Bone Club for the baits, and then Shadow Ball or Shadow Bone if you do not have one of those. You can go with Shadow Ball, yeah, if you do not have Shadow Bone. And this Pokemon is absolutely amazing in every single cup from season 1, from the time that it has arrived in the meta. You know how good that Marowak is. Even Zionic, I think this is gonna be his favorite Pokemon, right? So yeah, that's all for the coverage, and now let's see what you can pick for the final spot for your team. Guess what, trainers? It's up to you in the end. So overall, you have the tank, you have your spammer, you have the generalist, you have a safe switch for your team, and you have also coverage for everything else in the current meta. But you're saying to yourself, oh come on, I want to play double cost for this team. Why can't I use a double safe switch? I want a much safer team for me. Well, guess what? For the slot 6, you can do whatever you want. Double up your types, double up your categories. Why not? You can use a Sableye and a Frostlass on the same team. Just be sure that you have picked one from each category before you reach to that slot 6. Do not go to the safe switch and say, okay, I'm just gonna pick 3 safe switches. Yeah, that is not good, because safe switches are there, they are safe picks, but they are not core breakers. Just keep that in mind. Also, you can pick a Charmer for your team. I know that everyone hates Charmers, but Delcatty or even Latias, which are some spicy picks, can be used as charm options. I think that Raichu can also be played with charm. So why not use something like this for your team composition? Charm can really thread down the dragons, can really do well against the dark types like Umbreon and Obstagoon. So your opponent, by seeing a charm Pokemon, might be like, oh boy, what am I doing now? This is gonna be horrible for me. So yeah, just keep that in mind. And of course, you can use some other spice picks like Blastoise I have here, like Pinsir, and those Pokemon are just gonna be amazing for the current meta as well. You can see that Pinsir with superpower, Fury Cutter, and I guess Megahorn, I'm not sure, is just gonna go crazily good against the current meta. You can see that it pretty much wins everything, yeah, as I'm seeing over here. Of course, it is gonna be super glassy, so a few moves by whatever, as I can see over here, just gonna dominate it. But as a spice pick, as something like a bench pressure, yeah, you might consider using that Pokemon. And of course, the Blastoise, that thing is bulky, it has access to Water Gun, which can pressure down the opponent, and with Hydro Cannon Crunch, you have nothing to worry about, right? So slot 6, it's all up to you. You can use any other spicy Pokemon you might like, but consider doubling up something from that you like, a category that you love from this current graph. So take a picture right now, like PvP Steve does. So huge shout out to him, of course, because he's an amazing member of the Silph community. Be sure to check him out. I will leave a link of his channel in the description. And with that said, that's all for the Obsidian Cup team builder. And trainers, if you're waiting for that Excel Wobbuffet, well, it's the time to talk about it. I hate that Pokemon. I did not include it on my graph because that thing is super useless. Even if you use it, it has a lot of counters. You're just gonna take time from your opponent and therefore from yourself, which is not good at all. So the disclaimer, please don't use Wobbuffet. Wobbuffet may break your opponent, but will also break you. Be different, be unique, be yourself. Don't be Wobbuffet. Yeah. we had it right. Overall, that's all, trainers. Thank you for watching. Write down in the comments what is your thought about, what are your thoughts about this current graph. Are you gonna use it for your Obsidian Cup teams? Because every single time I do a team builder, I think that it is successful overall. People seem to like it. I get positive feedbacks, and it helps me as well to reach my desired ranks on that Silph rankings. So thank you, trainers, for watching. Be sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel. It helps so much, you know it. I really love your support so far, trainers. And with that said, farewell to you, trainers. I hope to see you all into the next one. Take care, everyone.